So what I would like everyone to do is go to the website getbootstrap.com. And this is going to be our main page for documentation. And if we're going to get started using Bootstrap, obviously here's the link to get started. I'm going to show you the easiest way to get started using Bootstrap. There are different approaches and different techniques to get started using Bootstrap, some easier than others. They all have their pros and cons. I'm going to show in this video, I'm going to show the easiest way that I know to get started. And that way is just this. Go to getbootstrap.com. You could download, that's a separate technique. I'm going to go to get started. Notice the version. There are and there have been many versions of Bootstrap. Okay, so currently we're on 4.3. So this video was made on July 8th, 2019. I'm going to go back to the home page. So this is the version, and I'm going to click on Getting Started. So go ahead and click on Get Started. And I like to scroll down, and this is by far the easiest way to get started using Bootstrap. You just scroll down to the starter template. You're going to notice some HTML tags. You're going to notice that there's a bare bones HTML template. Okay, there's a button over here that says copy. So you're looking for the starter template, and I'm just going to click on copy. And that's going to copy that to my clipboard. Now, I'm using Visual Studio Code. So once I have that copied, I'm going to paste it into an HTML document. I don't have an HTML document yet. Okay, so to create an HTML document, I'm actually going to create a folder first. Okay, so here on my desktop, I'm going to create a new folder. Right click on the desktop, new folder. And go ahead and name this folder the topic of your website. I'm going to make my website about ranking. So I'm going to call mine Rankin Website. Again, pick your topic, name your folder appropriately. Now back in Visual Studio Code, we need to open that folder. So under the File menu, Open Folder in Visual Studio Code. It's on the desktop, so you can click the desktop here and click Rankin Website. Select folder. So now we are in the folder and we're ready to get started. Before I get too much further, I thought it would make sense to show you the finished product. And keep in mind, yours is going to look different, but the same functionality is going to be here. When you look at this website, we have a nav bar up at the top, and when you click on one of the sections, you can see that it kind of does a scrolling effect, and it takes you to that section. And so if we look at the different sections, what we have up at the top here, this is called a Jumbotron. And this Jumbotron has an image in the background that as you scroll, you could kind of see the image stays put. That's called a parallax effect. And so we've got a Jumbotron up at the top with a couple of buttons. We've got a description with a YouTube video, so you'll have a YouTube video that's under the trailer section. So the description is a paragraph, the trailer is a video. scroll down to Showcase, and Showcase is a scrolling photos carousel. Thank you. So we've got a carousel. Down to features, we've got some icons under features, and you'll start to notice we've got some columns. So we're going to learn how to set up some columns. Same thing under pricing. We've got 3 columns, some more icons here with some buttons. We got some reviews, and then there's a section here that's not a link to sign up for a newsletter. It's got a form on it, and a footer with again, columns. There's a bunch of links down here, some icons. There's a drop up list down here at the bottom. So there's quite a bit to this website, so I just thought I'd show you this. Again, you get to pick the topic of your website. You'll pick out the images, so on and so forth. With that being said, where we left off was you copied this starter template. If you want to go ahead and click on copy again, you can do that.
Has everybody done this?
Okay, once you have that copy, let's go back to Visual Studio. And now that we have our website open, the website folder, we're going to click on New File.
Can you show one more time the website folder? Yes, I got it.
And I will type in index.htm. So that's going to be the name of our homepage, index.htm, index.htm. And this is going to be where I paste. So this is our homepage, index.htm, and we've got to start with Bootstrap. Okay, what I'd like for you to do at this point, everybody, is I'd like you to right-click inside of Visual Studio, and you should see an option to open with live server. If you just right-click anywhere, open with live server, you're going to see that this pops up in the web browser. It should say hello world in the web browser. If it asks you, do you want to allow this, go ahead and say allow. Okay, that's how you know it's working to this point. Except for obviously our website looks a lot different than where it's going to look at the end. What I didn't show on the web page is its responsiveness, which is kind of the beauty of Bootstrap and what Bootstrap is known for. Obviously, this is what the website looks like on a wide monitor, but if I actually shrink down the browser, you know, to roughly what the size of a tablet might look like, for the most part, these sections all look the same. But notice what happens. This used to be 4 columns, and it shrinks down to 2 once you get to a certain size. These, if you get smaller, notice maybe to the size of about a cell phone, you're going to go down to a single column. Notice what happens to the nav bar. The nav bar looks like what it would look like on a cell phone device. Same thing here. These were 3 columns. As you expand them out, it goes just basically from 3 to 1. So on a tablet view, you can still fit into 3 columns. But it's not until it's a little bit more narrow that it goes down to 1 column. So you can see these 2 sets of columns are behaving differently. And so you'll see how that's coded. And so I just wanted to show what this would look like in a mobile view, because I skipped over that. So that's the website, desktop, tablet, and mobile view. Again, where we left off is here, just with the template. If you right click and open in live server, it should say hello world. There's a couple of things that you could change right off the bat, and so I'll have all of you make this change. You notice up at the top, look at your web browser window. Notice how it says Hello World up in the tab? Okay, if we look at the code, where do you think that text comes from? Yes, the title, exactly right. So really you see Hello World twice on here. You see it once in an H1 tag, that's a heading tag. You see it once in the title. So go ahead and change your title to be a title for your website. If your website is about basketball, you can name it basketball. I'm going to name mine Rankin Technical College. Now there's a hotkey to save. Control S. This is on line 11 that we're changing the title. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here with Control plus. So hopefully you can see the screen a little bit better. And all I did was change the title. Let's open that in Live Server. Now you can see it says Rankin Technical College up at the top. There's a hotkey anytime you make a change. Notice if I put in some spacing on the title, notice that my index page has a circle to the left of it. You can hit Control S and that'll save it. So anytime there are changes, you're going to see that index needs to be saved with that circle. Go ahead and hit Control S.
Right now.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do on this website is get our nav bar up at the top, which requires us to delete the Hello World heading. Okay, so here on line 14, I'm going to just delete that line. Just the line that says H1 Hello World. And I'm going to go to getbootstrap.com and I'm going to go to the documentation. So I'm going to click on documentation. And I know that the nav bar is under components. So once I click on documentation, I'm going to click on components. And then I have a nav bar. And the nav bar we're going to use, I'm actually going to scroll down on this page. So notice I'm scrolling past, it says brand, keep scrolling. And the one that's most similar to what we're going to do is just after the brand heading, you scroll down, you can see one labeled nav. And you can see an example of it here. This is a simple nav bar. It does have a brand, which is off to the left here, and then your standard links. Now this one has one that's disabled. We don't have any disabled ones, so we can remove that. But let's go ahead and copy this code here.
When you copy, you can copy.
So once I have this nav copied to the clipboard, I'm going to paste it in just underneath our body. So here on line 14, I'm going to paste. So now I've got body followed by a nav, and there's a bunch of code in between. We're going to change some of this up to get it to be the nav bar that we want. Just to take a quick look at it, and let's make sure it's working. Let's open it with Live Server. You can see it's got the nav bar, and if we collapse it down, it does look like a mobile device nav. Notice when you collapse it down, all that you see is that brand. Okay, if we want to take a look at the different pieces of this nav bar so that we can change it to be what our website needs, so we can have different links for our individual websites. You notice this section here, I got line 15, that's called the Navbar brand, and it says the word Navbar. Well, if I actually launch this, the Navbar brand, this is where you're going to put your company logo or whatever, that's the branding section of your Navbar. So we don't have a logo, we just have, it just right now it just says Navbar. But if you want to put the topic of your website, for example, mine is going to be ranking. So here on line 15, I'm going to delete the word that says Navbar. I'm going to put the word ranking. And I keep closing my live server, but I don't need to. Now you can see that the brand, again, this is where the branding goes on your Navbar, says ranking. And you notice it does take me, if I click it, it doesn't take me anywhere. Really, none of these take me anywhere right now. And we're definitely going to change that as we go along. So if I take a look at my finished product, let me launch the finished product here. I'm going to be going back and forth a lot. So now it says ranking, and we're going to learn how to do this icon here. The next link I have says to the top. And you can kind of see the purpose of that is that it does take me up all the way to the top. Okay, right now we don't have a to the top. So that's going to be the next thing that we code. So in order to code this to the top, we have this home, and we're going to change home to be our to the top. So this is nav link. This nav link is going to say to the top. And then we can actually delete this span. And the href is going to change. So we're changing quite a bit here on line 22. So I'm going to highlight it because now the href is going to say section top. So it's pound section top. Okay, your line numbering might be different than mine. So here's one thing that we can try, and it's okay if it's different. But one thing that we can try at this point, if you right click on format document, it says there are multiple formatters. Let's click configure and then click on beautify. Okay, so that's going to run what beautify to help organize our code to be similar. So notice what was a different line number is now line 26 for me. Again, it's okay if our line numbers don't match. We just have to find the same line and edit the same lines, even if our line numbers don't match. Okay, and so let's just take a quick look at this. Now it says ranking and it says to the top. Again, it's not really working at this point, but we're getting there. As we add content, it should. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flush out the rest of my nav bar. So I've got several links in the finished product that we don't have over here. These couple lines here, they're fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to, instead of saying features, my link says description. And then the href says section hyphen description. The next item says trailer, and the href is section hyphen trailer. I'm going to delete this next one because it's disabled. I'm going to copy this. And paste in a showcase section hyphen showcase. I'm doing several steps at once, and we can all play a little catch up here in just a second. We're going to paste in a features section hyphen features pricing and last but not least we've got reviews section hyphen reviews. If I look at the live server now, you can see all of our links. As I hover them in the lower left-hand corner, you can see that their IDs match the link name. Okay, so here's our nav bar where we left off. What we're going to do next is we're going to change the color. Right now it's got a little bit of color. It's kind of hard to see, but it's basically a gray. If you look closely, you can see that. We're getting that gray color from this class called BG Light. We're going to choose our own color for this nav bar. So if you want to, up at the top here, mine's on line 17, it's right underneath this body tag. You've got this nav tag, and it says BG Light. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And instead, I'm going to give it my own color. I'm going to add in a style. Notice this is outside of the quotes here. I'm setting up what is called an attribute, right? So I'm setting up a style attribute to say background, color, colon, red. And just at a glance, let me save that. You can see it changed the background color to red there. So what I'm going to do next is, as has been pointed out, it's a little hard to read with this dark text in the red background. So it might be a little bit easier to read with this red background to have a white text. And so the way that we're getting this dark background, oddly enough, is with Navbar Light. So if we change this to Navbar Dark, you're going to see that's actually going to be what changes our color to a white text. And so the last thing that I'm going to do besides change the text color, and obviously it's up to you whether you choose a white text or a black text, whatever contrasts better. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a class to our navbar after Navbar Dark that says fixed to the top. And as we add content to this site, that's going to keep our navbar kind of pinned to the top, and it's not going to scroll off of the page. Okay, which will be useful when we use that what's called scroll spy that gives us a nice scrolling effect. Okay, so I changed the text from light to dark, or black to white, and then I fixed the nav bar to the top. So again, you're not going to see this working right now, but eventually, as we can scroll on this page, this nav bar will stay to the top, and I can quickly demonstrate that with the finished product. As we scroll down, you see that the nav bar stays fixed to the top. Okay, you see we got the white text, we've got all of our links, and we are on our way. So I think that's a good place to stop the first video. That's a 25-minute video, and we got the Navbar working, and we got Bootstrap wired up.